The galaxy was full of wonders, but also full of horrors. Far away, on a dark planet covered in storms, stood a cage made of black stone and metal. Inside the cage lived a beast, a creature so savage that even the alien masters feared it. Its body was covered with thick scales, its claws could tear metal apart, and its roar could shake the ground like thunder. The aliens called it their weapon, their monster, their savage pet. But the beast was more than just a monster. It was their entertainment, their show of power. Whenever the aliens grew tired, they threw creatures into the cage, animals from other planets, prisoners from war, and sometimes even their own weakest slaves. The beast always killed, and the aliens always cheered to them. The cage was not a prison, but a stage. One day, the aliens found something different. A small child, a human, lost and captured during a raid. The child was weak, with torn clothes and dirt on his face. His eyes were wide with fear, but he did not scream. He was silent, holding his breath. As if he already knew his fate, the aliens laughed when they saw him. What can a small human do against the beast? They said, "He will be eaten in a moment. This will be fun." So they threw the child into the cage and locked the gates with a heavy clang. The crowd of aliens pressed closer, their glowing eyes fixed on the scene. The ground trembled as the beast stood up. Its shadow fell over the small child. The child looked up, frozen, unable to run. The beast lowered its head, its breath hot like fire. The crowd held its breath, waiting for the scream. The blood, the end, but nothing happened. The beast sniffed the child, its eyes glowing like burning stars. It growled deep in its chest, a sound that shook the bones of everyone watching. Yet the child was still alive. The beast moved closer, its massive jaws opening wide. The aliens shouted in excitement, certain that the child was finished. And then something strange happened. The beast did not bite, did not crush, it did not kill. Instead, it stopped, its jaws hovering just above the child. The child raised a hand, trembling, and touched the beast's nose. The cage became silent. The aliens froze. The beast blinked slowly. Like a creature confused by its own action, it lowered its head, pressing its snout against the child's tiny hand. The crowd roared in anger, not in joy. What is this? Why is the beast not killing? Is it broken? Has it gone weak? The alien guards raised their weapons, ready to shoot the beast for disobedience. But the leader of the aliens lifted his hand, commanding silence. "Wait," he hissed. "Let us see what happens next." The child's fear slowly faded. His small fingers touched the beast's rough scales. The beast let out a low rumble, not of hunger, but of something else, something deeper. It was almost like a purr, almost like comfort. The child sat down in the dust of the cage, and the beast sat down too, side by side, predator and prey, together. In a way no one had ever seen before. The aliens whispered among themselves, "This is not right." They said the beast should never show mercy. This child, he must be cursed, but none dared enter the cage. They feared the beast more than they feared the truth. The sky above the planet rumbled with storm clouds. Lightning flashed, making the beast's scales shine like armor. The child leaned against the beast, too tired to stand. The beast curled its body around him, shielding him from the cold. And in that moment, the alien crowd saw something they could not believe. The savage beast had chosen not to eat, but to protect. The impossible had happened. The monster had shown mercy. No one knew why. Not the aliens, not the guards, not even the child himself. But the galaxy would soon learn. This was no accident. This was only the beginning. A storm was coming, and it all began with a small human child and a beast that refused to kill. The night on the alien world was endless, filled with black skies and silent storms. Inside the cage, the small human child sat pressed against the beast's side. His heart pounded like a drum. His hands shook. But he did not cry. Tears wanted to fall, but he held them back, for he knew the aliens were watching, and he would not give them the pleasure of his weakness. The beast's breath was heavy, warm, and strange every time it exhaled. The child's hair moved as if a great wind passed through him. The creature's glowing eyes stayed fixed on the boy, sharp and endless, like fire trapped in stone. The child wanted to run, but his legs would not move. His body locked between terror and shock, no matter how much he wanted to escape. He was trapped with the monster. The aliens outside the cage muttered, their voices sharp and cruel. Why does the beast not eat him? One hissed, perhaps the child is poisoned. Another spat. The leader of the aliens raised a clawed hand, his eyes glittering like knives. No, he said. This is something more. The beast is choosing. The child heard none of their whispers, his ears filled only with the sound of the beast's low growl. Every vibration of its chest shook the ground like thunder buried under stone. The child clenched his fists, trying to stay calm. He remembered his mother's words, soft and far away now. Be brave, even when you are afraid. But what did bravery mean? When death was a breath away, the beast moved closer, its massive head lowering until its eyes were level with the child's. The boy froze, his breath caught in his throat. The beast's jaws parted, teeth glinting like knives. Saliva dripping onto the sand, the crowd leaned forward, waiting for the moment of blood. But again, the beast stopped, its mouth closing slowly, its eyes unreadable. The child did something no one expected. He whispered, so faint the crowd could. Not here. Please don't hurt me. His voice cracked, small and human. Yet filled with courage, the beast tilted its head, as if it understood. Its growl softened, turning into a sound not of rage, but of confusion. The monster shifted its body, curling one clawed hand into the ground, but keeping the other stretched. Between itself and the boy, like a shield, the aliens outside grew restless. This is wrong, one shouted. Kill the beast. It is broken. But the leader raised his hand again, his grin sharp. No, let it play out. Something greater is happening here. The aliens fell silent. Though unease crept through their eyes, inside the cage, the child's fear shifted. He still trembled, but slowly. His wide eyes began to study the beast. He saw scars running along its scales, marks from chains, burns from weapons. The child realized something. This beast was not just savage. It was wounded. It was suffering. It was lonely. And in his small heart, fear turned into something else, pity. The beast let out another growl, but it sounded almost like a sigh. The boy reached forward again, his fingers brushing against the rough scales. The monster closed its eyes, not resisting, almost resting. The child whispered again, you are not a monster. You are tired. The words were simple, but the meaning was heavy. The crowd of aliens could not hear them, but the beast seemed to understand. Then the cage shook. The alien guards had activated shock rods along the walls, electricity flashing bright across the stone. The beast roared in pain, leaping to its feet, its tail smashing against the bars. The child fell backward, his small body shaking. The aliens laughed, believing the beast was losing control. But when the storm ended, the beast did not attack the child. Instead, it placed its body between him and the walls, shielding him from the next wave of shocks. The crowd gasped in disbelief. Never in history had the savage beast protected anyone. Never had it chosen mercy over hunger. And yet here it was, standing guard over a fragile human child. The aliens began to whisper with fear now, not amusement, What if the beast turns against us? What if the child is the key? The leader's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing. His mind was racing, for he knew power when he saw it, and this strange bond was power. If a weak child could control the galaxy's strongest monster, then everything might change. Everything. The aliens had built, their empire of chains and blood could fall. The child did not know these things. He only knew the beast was no longer his enemy. He only knew that in the darkest place, something impossible had begun, and while fear still clung to him, it was no longer the fear of death. It was the fear of what came next, because deep inside he sensed the truth. The beast was not just protecting him, it was awakening, and the galaxy would tremble when it was fully awake. The night dragged on, but neither the child nor the beast closed their eyes. Around them, the alien crowd had left. Only guards remained with weapons ready. The cage was quiet. Except for the sound of the beast's slow breathing, the boy sat. Close, his tiny hand resting on the creature's scales. He did not know why, but something inside told him he was safe. Yet the beast was not resting. Behind those glowing eyes, memories were stirring. Not memories of the cage, nor the cruel whips of the aliens, but something much older, something buried deep inside its blood. Something the aliens had tried to erase, but failed, long ago, before it became a prisoner. Before it was turned into a weapon, the beast had lived free, among its own kind. It remembered the skies of its home world, red with twin suns. It remembered running across fields of silver grass. It remembered the sound of laughter, not of its kind, but of human voices, for the beast's ancestors had once fought beside humans. Not against them, the flash of memory shook the creature. It saw a face, not the child's, but another human child. Long ago, a girl with bright eyes, who placed flowers on its horn, who called it friend. That girl's voice echoed in its mind. Soft and kind. You are not a monster. You are strong, but you are good. And then fire. War, betrayal, chains. The memory ended with pain, the screams of humans dying. The beast had been taken, its kind slaughtered, its bond with humanity forgotten, until now. The small boy's touch had broken something inside the beast. Not broken like weakness, but broken like a lock. The chains on its mind were slipping away. The creature realized what the aliens had done. They had tried to shape it into a savage weapon, but deep inside, it was not born for cruelty. It was born for something else, something greater. The child watched the beast tremble, its eyes shifting from rage to sorrow. He did not understand the memories, but he felt the weight of them. The beast lowered its head to the ground, growling. Not at him, but at itself. It was remembering who it once was, and that truth burned like fire in its chest. Outside the cage, one guard whispered nervously, "Why does it act so strange?" Another hissed back, "Perhaps the beast is sick." But the leader of the guards shook his head, his eyes narrow. "No, this is not sickness. This is awakening. And it is dangerous inside." The child leaned closer, whispering again, "You remember something, don't you?" The beast's ears twitched, its head lifted, eyes meeting his. It could not speak, but its silence was louder than words. The boy placed his small hand against its scarred chest, and in that moment, the bond grew deeper. The beast felt the warmth of the child's courage, and the boy felt the storm of memories in the beast's heart. Then came the test. The aliens, tired of waiting, activated the cage's torture once again. Arcs of blue lightning struck the beast. Burning its scales, it roared so loudly the mountains echoed. The child fell to his knees, shielding his head. But the beast did not strike him. Instead, it roared at the walls, its strength rising with each strike. Chains that had held for years began to crack. Metal groaned under the force of its fury. The guards shouted, their weapons ready, control. One cried. More power to the shocks. Another ordered, but the beast's eyes burned brighter than the lightning. This was not blind rage. This was memory awakened. This was rebellion. The child stood again, trembling. But he shouted at the beast, "Don't give up. Fight them." His voice was small, but it cut through the storm like a blade. The beast heard him, and for the first time in its life, it did not feel alone. It had a purpose, not to kill for sport, not to obey the aliens, but to protect. To guard, to rise. The chains snapped. The guards stumbled back in shock. The beast towered over them, its body blazing with power. But still, it did not harm the child. Instead, it stood in front of him. Wings half spread, claws ready. The aliens outside the cage could only stare. Their perfect weapon had become something else, not a monster, but a protector. The leader of the guards hissed, his voice sharp with fear. This changes everything. If the beast remembers its old bond with humans, we cannot control it. He raised his weapon, aiming at the child. If we kill the boy, the beast will return to us. But before the shot could fire, the beast's tail whipped forward, smashing the weapon to pieces. Its growl shook the ground, its eyes blazing with a promise. No one would touch the child. The boy pressed his forehead against the beast's rough scales. Whispering again, "You're not alone anymore." The beast closed its eyes, its chest rising and falling. And for the first time in centuries, it felt whole, but outside the cage. The aliens were already preparing something worse. They would not let their greatest weapons slip away. The galaxy would soon know the cost of their mistake, for the beast was no longer theirs. It belonged to itself and to the child, and together they were the spark of something that could burn an empire. The cage no longer held silence. It held thunder. The chains that had bound the beast lay shattered on the ground, twisted like broken bones. The guards outside stumbled back, their eyes wide with fear. This was not the show they had promised the alien crowd. This was something else. Something dangerous. The beast stood tall, its chest rising with power, its scales glowing under the flicker of lightning. Beside its leg, the small child stared upward, his heart racing, but his fear now mixed with wonder. He had seen monsters before. He had seen cruelty in the eyes of the aliens, but what he saw now was not just a monster, it was a guardian. The leader of the guards hissed, his voice sharp as broken glass, "Kill them both before it is too late." Dozens of alien soldiers rushed forward, weapons crackling with fire. They pointed their blasters at the cage, ready to turn beast and child into ash. The beast lowered its head, muscles coiled like steel. It was no longer confused, no longer chained in mind or body. It knew what it must do. And when the soldiers opened fire, the cage became a storm of light. Bolts of plasma tore through the air. Sparks showered across the ground. The beast's body shielded the boy, claws striking the ground with every step. Each shot that should have killed the child struck the beast instead. But it did not fall. Its roar shook the walls, rattling weapons from trembling hands. One sweep of its tail sent half the guards flying like dolls into the stone walls. The child covered his ears. The roar too powerful, but his eyes never left. "The creature," he whispered again, even though the beast could not hear through the noise. "You can do it. Don't let them win." The beast's golden eyes flicked back for a heartbeat, and then forward again, as if the child's words had reached its heart. The guards shouted in panic, "It's too strong." One cried, "Fall back." Another screamed. But their leader roared louder, "No retreat. Bring out the heavy weapons." From the shadows, the aliens rolled forward machines of war. Tall walkers made of steel, their legs digging into the dirt, their cannons glowing with deadly energy. The child gasped. his tiny hand clutching the beast's scales. Even the monster hesitated, for these were not weak guards. These were weapons built for one purpose: to destroy creatures like it. The first cannon fired. A blast of fire struck the ground beside them. The earth cracked open, heat burning the boy's skin. The beast leaped sideways, its massive body shielding him again. The second walker fired, striking the beast's side, scales shattering, blood burning like sparks in the air. The child screamed, "No!" But the beast only roared louder, standing even taller through the pain. The walkers stepped closer, their cannons glowing brighter. The guards cheered, believing victory was theirs. But they forgot one thing: this was no longer the same beast. They had chained, it was free, and freedom gave it strength. The beast lunged forward. Faster than the machines could react, its claws dug deep into the leg of the nearest walker. Tearing metal apart like paper, the machine toppled sideways, crashing down in fire and smoke. Aliens screamed inside, crushed by their own weapon. The child covered his head as debris rained down, but the beast stood over him, deflecting every piece. The second walker fired again, the blast hitting the beast's shoulder. It staggered, blood flowing, but it did not fall. Instead, with a roar that split the sky, it hurled a broken piece of chain like a spear. The metal rod struck the walker's cannon, exploding in fire. The machine collapsed, smoke filling the night. The guards were silent now. No cheers, no laughter, only fear. The beast stood in the flames, blood running down its side. The child at its feet, small but unbroken, together. They looked unstoppable, but then the leader stepped forward, his cloak sweeping the dust. His eyes burned with fury, his voice cold as stone. "This is not the end, this is only the beginning. You may think you are free, but the galaxy belongs to us, and no beast or child can change that." He raised his hand, and the sky above the cage opened. From the clouds descended a massive ship, larger than a mountain, its weapons glowing red. It was not just a prison anymore. It was a battlefield. The child gripped the beast's scales tighter, his voice trembling but clear. "They are afraid of you. That's why they bring more. They are afraid because they know you are not their monster anymore." The beast lowered its head for a moment, its golden eyes locking with the boy's. In that gaze was a promise, silent but certain. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. The ship's weapons began to glow, ready to fire. The guards cheered again, hope returning to their eyes. But in their hearts, fear still burned, for they had seen what the beast could do. And somewhere deep inside, they knew the truth. The rebellion had already begun. The ground shook as the alien warship hovered above the cage. Its shadow covered the land like a black curtain, hiding even the stars. Red lights glowed from its underbelly, weapons charged, ready to burn everything below. The guards cheered, believing nothing could survive this storm of fire. But inside the cage, the beast stood tall, blood dripping from its wounds, the child clinging to its scales. The monster was hurt, but not broken, and the boy's small voice whispered again and again, "Don't stop, we have to keep going." The ship fired. A beam of light struck the ground, tearing stone into fire. Dust and flames rose high, choking the air. The beast leaped sideways, carrying the child in its claws, the explosion missing them by a breath. The shockwave slammed against its body, but still it ran. The cage that once trapped it was no longer a prison. It was rubble, and in that chaos, a door opened, a path to freedom. The alien guards saw it, and they rushed forward with spears of energy. Their screams echoed, but the beast crushed them underfoot. One sweep of its tail broke their lines apart. The child held tight, burying his face against the creature's chest. He could feel every heartbeat, each one like a drum of war. Every step the beast took was not just running. It was defiance. It was rebellion. They burst through the broken walls of the cage, and for the first time, the child saw the alien world outside. Endless deserts of black sand stretched beneath a storm-filled sky. Mountains glowed faintly in the distance, and rivers of fire cut. Across the land, the air was heavy, poisoned by war. Yet in that terrible place, the child felt one thing: freedom. The beast roared. The sound carried across the desert like thunder. It was no longer a sound of hunger. No longer a sound of pain. It was a sound of challenge. A promise to the galaxy that chains could not hold forever. The warship above tilted, chasing them, its cannons glowing brighter. Smaller alien crafts descended from its belly, sharp like hunting birds, wings slicing through the storm clouds. The chase began. The beast thundered across the desert, claws digging into the black sand. The child clung to its back, his eyes wide as the ground blurred beneath them. The alien ships screamed. Through the air, beams of fire raining down, explosions lit the sand, sending waves of heat across their path. But the beast was fast, faster than the aliens expected. It darted between craters, leaped across rivers of molten fire, each bound carrying them farther. From the prison, the aliens shouted through their machines, their voices echoing across the desert. Do not let them escape. Stop them at all cost. But fear grew in their tone, for no weapon could pin the beast down. It was running not for itself now, but for the child, and that gave it strength greater than steel. A canyon opened before them, its walls rising high like the jaws of the earth. The beast did not stop. It leaped into the air, landing hard on the other side. Rocks breaking beneath its weight. The alien crafts fired again, but the shots struck only stone. The canyon walls crumbled, blocking the path behind. The chase was not over, but the aliens had lost ground. The child looked back, seeing the flames, the broken machines, the dust of battle for the first time. He smiled, small but real. He whispered into the beast's ear, "We're still alive. We're not done yet." The beast let out a low rumble, almost like agreement, almost like pride. But the warship was still above, its shadow still chasing. Its weapons hummed, building energy for a strike that could split mountains. The beast ran harder, its claws tearing furrows into the earth. The child looked ahead and saw something in the distance. A dark opening in the mountains, wide and deep, a cave, hidden by storm and shadow. It was their only chance. The beast roared and pushed forward, the cave drawing closer with every bound. The ship fired again, beams of fire crashing into the ground, the earth shattering. Dust filling the sky. The child coughed, his body shaking from the force, but he held tight, whispering once more. Almost there, just a little more. The cave opened like the mouth of a giant. With one final leap, the beast hurled itself inside, its body scraping against stone as it carried the boy to safety. The warship fired again, but the blast struck the mountain's edge, sealing the entrance with fire and falling rock. Inside, darkness swallowed them. Silence returned. Only the sound of the beast's heavy breathing filled the air and the child's quick heartbeat. For the first time since the cage, they could breathe without fire. The child slid down, sitting on the cold stone, his body aching but alive. The beast lay beside him, its golden eyes glowing faintly in the dark. It was bleeding, wounded from battle, but not broken, never broken. The child reached out, resting his hand on its chest. "We made it," he whispered, voice shaking. The beast let out a low growl, not of anger, but of agreement. Outside, the aliens raged, their warship circling, unable to reach inside the mountain. They would not give up. They would hunt them. They would burn the world if they had to. But inside the cave, hidden from their eyes, something else waited, something older, something the beast had remembered but not yet revealed. And when the child's eyes adjusted to the dark, he saw them strange carvings on the walls, glowing faintly with human shapes and beasts side by side. His breath caught, for he knew this was no ordinary cave. This was a place of secrets, a place where the past had been carved into stone. And the truth waiting inside would change not just their fate, but the fate of the entire galaxy. The cave was silent, but it was not empty. The air was heavy, filled with dust and whispers of forgotten ages. The child leaned against the stone, his small chest rising and falling as he tried to catch his breath. The beast lay close, its massive body trembling from wounds, its golden eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. Yet the child felt something strange here, something watching, something waiting. As his eyes adjusted, he saw faint lines on the walls. At first, they seemed like cracks, but then he realized they were carvings. Figures scratched into the stone, glowing faintly with a light knot of fire. Not of machines, but of memory. He stood, his legs shaking, and reached out, his fingers tracing the lines. What he saw made his breath catch. Humans, carved in ancient style, stood beside giant beasts, not as enemies, not as prey, but as allies. He saw men and women riding on the backs of creatures that looked like the one beside him. He saw battles carved into stone, where humans and beasts fought together against alien armies. And he saw something more: a child, small like him, standing at the side of a beast. Their hands joined. The carvings glowed brighter when he touched them, as if the stone itself remembered. The boy whispered, his voice trembling, "This has happened before." The beast raised its head, its golden eyes fixing on the carvings. It let out a low sound, not of rage, but of recognition. It remembered, in fragments and flashes, the time before chains. The time when its kind and humans stood together. The carvings were not just pictures, they were truth. History carved into stone, so no one could erase it. The child pressed his hand against the wall again, and the glow spread wider. Symbols lit up, flowing like rivers of light across the cave. The boy gasped as the floor beneath him shimmered with the same carvings. He felt warmth rushing into his hand, into his chest. It was not painful. It was alive. It was connection. The beast moved closer, lowering its massive head when its snout touched the glowing symbols. The carvings lit brighter. The cave thundered with a deep sound like the beating of 1,000 hearts. The boy stumbled back, but he was not afraid. He knew this was meant to happen. He was not here by chance. He was here because the past had called him. The beast roared, but not in anger. Its voice echoed through the cave. Shaking the dust from the ceiling, the carvings answered, glowing brighter until the entire cavern shone with light. The child's eyes filled with tears, for he understood now the beast was never meant to be a weapon of aliens. It was meant to be a guardian, a protector, bonded to humans through trust, not chains. The child whispered, "That's why you didn't eat me. That's why you remembered." The beast lowered its head, pressing it gently against the boy's chest. The golden eyes softened, and in them the child saw more than a monster. He saw sorrow. He saw loyalty. He saw the echo of an ancient promise. And though the beast could not speak, its silence said everything. It had chosen him, but outside, the aliens had not stopped. Their warship still circled above, its weapons pounding the mountainside. The cave shook with every blast, rocks falling, dust raining down. The guards shouted. Their voices carried through the storm. "Seal them inside. Let the mountain bury them." The child flinched as the cave trembled. But the carvings glowed even brighter. It was as if the mountain itself refused to collapse, as if it too remembered the old bond. The boy turned back to the beast, determination now in his small voice. "They want to destroy us because they are afraid, but we have something they cannot understand." He touched the carvings again, and a symbol glowed brighter than the rest. It was a circle, half human, half beast, joined together. The boy felt power flow through him, not strength like claws, but courage like fire. The beast roared again, and this time the roar carried beyond the cave. It echoed across the desert, across the skies, across the stars. Far away in hidden places of the galaxy, other beasts heard it. Creatures chained and broken on alien worlds lifted their heads. Their eyes glowed with the same golden fire. Something inside them stirred, old memories waking. And across the stars, whispers spread. The bond has returned. The guardians have. Awakened, the child stood in the glowing light. His small frame shadowed by the beast's massive body. He did not feel weak anymore. He felt chosen. And though he did not know what battles lay ahead, he knew one truth. He was no longer just a boy. And the beast was no longer just a monster. Together, they were the beginning of something greater. And when the galaxy learned this truth, nothing would ever be the same. The roar from the cave did not stop at the mountains. It crossed the skies. It crossed the storms. It reached the stars themselves. The sound carried across the galaxy like a great drum, awakening memories that had been buried for centuries. In pharaoh prisons, chained beasts lifted their heads, their golden eyes opening as if from a long sleep. In alien arenas, where crowds waited for slaughter, the monsters refused to kill, turning instead to roar at their masters. And in secret laboratories, where scientists had broken and reshaped flesh, their weapons began to tremble against their cages. The bond had returned, and the galaxy trembled at its awakening. The child inside the cave stood small, but his shadow stretched tall in the glow of the carvings beside him. The beast roared again, each sound carrying strength far greater than any weapon. The mountain shook, but did not fall, as if even the earth bowed to the return of the guardians. The boy touched the beast's side, his voice soft but steady. They know now. Everyone knows. This is only the beginning. Above, the alien warship hovered, its commanders shouting in fury and fear, "What is happening across the stars? Why do our beasts resist us?" The signals from other worlds poured in, every report the same. Their weapons were rebelling. Their empire of control was breaking, and all because of a child and a single beast. The leader of the aliens clenched his claws, his voice sharp. "This cannot be allowed. If humans and beasts rise together, the galaxy will not belong to us. It will belong to them." But even as he spoke, his own soldiers wavered, for they had seen the impossible with their own eyes. The savage monster they had feared had chosen mercy, had chosen loyalty, and deep inside, some whispered a thought they dared not say aloud. Perhaps the aliens were not masters. Perhaps they were only thieves of history. The galaxy itself seemed to stir on distant worlds. Humans in hiding looked to the skies as the roars reached them. They felt something inside their blood answer. Something old, something proud. For generations, they had been hunted, scattered, broken. But now they whispered, "The guardians have returned. Hope has returned." Inside the cave, the child sat on the stone, exhausted, his small body trembling. But his eyes were not afraid anymore. They were bright, filled with fire. He looked at the beast and smiled. "You are not alone, and neither am I. We will fight together." The beast lowered its head, pressing its snout against the boy's chest. The bond was sealed, ancient and unbreakable. The mountain rumbled as another blast from the warship struck. Outside, the aliens would not stop. They would bring more ships, more weapons, more destruction. But the child no longer felt trapped, no longer felt like prey. He knew the truth now, and truth was more powerful than fear. The carvings glowed once more, and in the light he saw a vision. Humans and beasts standing side by side, not in caves, not in chains, but on battlefields. and the galaxy watching in awe as empires crumbled before them. The aliens outside shouted orders, destroy the mountain, bury them alive. The warship's cannons glowed, charging for a final strike. But across the stars, other beasts roared in answer. The sound shook alien fleets, cracked their chains, and shattered their control. The galaxy was no longer silent. It was awake in the shadows of space. Messages spread faster than light. Whispers turned into voices. Voices turned into cries. The Guardians rise again. The bond has returned. The aliens' reign is ending. Worlds that had been quiet for centuries now stirred with rebellion. Not with armies, not with weapons, but with hope. And hope was something the aliens could not kill. The child stood once more, his hand on the beast's scales. His voice was quiet, but in the silence of the cave, it was as loud as thunder. They will come for us. They will try to destroy us, but we are not alone anymore. The beast's eyes glowed brighter, its chest rising with power. It lifted its head and roared again, a roar that joined with the voices of beasts across the stars. The sound reached every corner of the galaxy. And in that moment, the galaxy itself seemed to pause. Stunned, watching, listening, no empire lasts forever. No chain holds forever. The aliens had fed their savage beast a human child, believing it would be a story of death. But instead, they had awakened something older. Something stronger. A bond that could not be broken. And what happened next stunned not only them, but the entire galaxy. For the war that would follow was no longer a fight of slaves and masters. It was the return of guardians and the rise of a legend, and it had only just begun.